Hosianna, gelobet sei der da kom, in den Namen des Herrn. Hosianna in der Herr, der da kommt in den Namen des Herrn. Der da kommt in den Namen des Herrn. Hosianna, Hosianna, Hosianna in der Höhe, Hosianna in der Höhe. I sang Hosianna before I started school, and we would sing hymns every night until my mother said, "Dat is genoeg." And we'd say, "Please, one more, one more."
The story begins in a German region named the Ukermark. In the middle of the 1800s, about 500 families decided to leave their home country. They were longing for America. They traveled across the Atlantic in sail ships and arrived in New York City. Then they moved further to the west, nearby Niagara Falls. Upon arrival, they established 3 settlements and became Americans. 5 generations later, it's a usual Saturday on the market near Bergholz, named after the German village of Bergholz. Donald Schröder is a direct descendant of the Ukermark settlers.
Do you have pumpkins in Europe? Yeah. Brussels sprouts. Hazelnuts. And this is a hot pepper cheese.
Donald visits the market regularly. Today, however, there's more attention than usual.
Hello. Where are you from?
Germany.
Oh, how nice. Welcome. We love our market.
Prices are very good here, and everything's real fresh. This comes right from the farm to here. New York State is, I think, second in apple production in the United States. And down near Lake Ontario, the climate is just right. They grow lots and lots and lots of fruit. Yeah, it's very much like the Ukermark. That's why the people decided to stay here, too. I'm going to need the 450 basket of Jonagals and then another one of Gala.
What? Okay.
We have to make a couple apple pies for the dinner, so I need more apples than usual.
$11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. There's a lot of German people in North Tonawanda, the whole area.
The Niagara Falls are only a few kilometers away on the border to Canada. 18 million tourists visit the site every year. The villages founded by the Germans are now quiet little towns. Close to Bergholz, there's Walmore, named after the German village Walmor. At first sight, life is very American in Bergholz, but every once in a while you can hear the sound of Plattdeutsch or Low German.
Ik zeg, het is nu herfst en we zitten hier mank al deze bläder en zitten boeten. Het is schier, is niet?
Ja,
gleich. Aber wat zijn al die Sachen? Brückenrot, dit jaar zijn, wat we even jaren terug hebben gedaan voor Vereert Winter kommt.
Beeren,
Beeren.
Beeren und Peaches.
Noedel oplezen.
Nudel oplezen. Nudelbuddel oplezen, ja.
Oil. Ja.
They speak the language of their childhood. Their parents used to talk Ukermarker Plattdeutsch with them. Nowadays, the descendants meet as a Low German group. They don't want to forget their mother tongue.
Uns Nachbarn hier in Berkel denken, dass wir sind auch verrückt.
Und Pie backen.
Ja.
Ich backe Pie. Backen je Pie?
Martha Hasley is the teacher of the Low German group. She speaks English, High German and Low German, the language of her ancestors.
Great-great-great-grandmother that came from Germany. Sie ist von Deutschland gekommen, meine Großmutter. Henriette Haseley. Man kann hier sehen, dass es sehr in die 1800er war. Sie ist von Ukermark gekommen, oder von Valmo oder Bergholz. Meine Großeltern und Großgroßeltern sind von Valmo und Bergholz beide. Wir haben immer zu Hus Plattdeutsch geredet und meine Tante ist auch. Und meine Mutter hat auch immer, meine Mutter und Vater haben beide gewollt, dass ich das nicht für jeden der sprach. Die haben da viel Verdacht. Aber und wir haben viel Plattdeutsch geredet. Aber wenn wir in Restauranten sind gegangen, die habe ich auch immer gewollt, wieder Plattdeutsch reden. Aber meine Mutter und meine Tante haben gesagt, nee, hier müssen wir Englisch reden, red Englisch.
Martha traveled the whole world, and she's almost a linguistic genius.
Kono tokoro minasan hataraite imasu ne. Koko ni gohan totte imasu.
She speaks Japanese fluently and Spanish as well. The key is her extraordinary biography. Martha used to live on a U.S. military base in Japan for over 40 years. There she worked as a Spanish teacher. Only a few months ago, she decided to come back to the U.S.
Nach 43 Jahren in Japan bin ich nach Amerika gekommen und ich bin wieder hier zu Niagara Falls und Valmo und Bergholz gekommen, weil hier kenne ich viele Leute und meine Familie ist hier und ich habe es sehr gern in diesen Platz. Pretty much I'm at home here, but I pretty much let's see. I try to be interested in what people are doing here, I guess, and when I can, then I can tell about the things that I've done.
Many streets were named after German settlers. Schultz Street commemorates the family roots of John Schultz. John is retired now and can be considered as the chief historian in Bergholz.
When I got older and became interested in the history of this area, you find that the more you dig, the more you unearth and the more excited you get about the stories, and you try and find more and more interesting things about what happened with the descendants of these Germans that came over. So, and it's still a tight-knit community, even nowadays.
John is the editor of a newsletter published for the community of the Ukermark descendants. For today, he arranged an interview with Lois Melville.
These were apparently my first shoes. I didn't walk in them.
It's probably not nice to ask, but how old were you?
I'm 87.
You're 87, okay. Mm-hmm. And you had those when you were
a couple years old, yeah.
John wants to record precious memories of older people living in the community.
My sister and I came home from school, and she said to me, you know, I don't think we should talk German anymore. So we decided, just amongst each other, we weren't going to talk German anymore.
Really? Wow.
But
so what did the family think of that?
I don't know. I don't even remember what my mother and dad said about that. But I think we thought, oh, you know, why should we talk that? We're in America, you know, and we should talk English.
Every descendant of the Ukermark settlers has a different background story to tell about how and when the family mingled with U.S. society.
There's just too many of them that we can't exhaust that source. There's all kinds of stories. There's that old saying, you know, if you want to know where you're going, you should find out where you came from.
At home, John writes an article about Loy's family story.
My sister and I came home from school. We could walk from, across, it just wasn't far. So we walked home, and she said to me, I don't think we should talk German anymore. So we decided just amongst each other, we weren't going to.
The article will be published in one of the next issues of Der Brief, a newsletter that reaches hundreds of readers.
This is not something that people, I don't think, throw in the waste can immediately. They pretty much read it because I get several calls if I have a misspelling on a name. It must be corrected, and so most of the articles, I think, get read.
John is passionate about researching the past. Sometimes he feels as if the biographies and even the conflicts of his ancestors come alive when he is thinking about them.
In my ancestry, I often question, now that I understand it, why Christian Schultz, when he came over, and then 3 years later lost his father, mother, brother, and wife to a cholera epidemic in 1849. So he had been here since 1843. So in that short time period, couldn't have been too pleasant. And I know from reading reading a lot of the history, that there was a lot of interaction back and forth between the settlers here and the Germans that they left behind, because families were split, and there was a lot of guilt on both sides. Why didn't you come to America with us? And then the people in America are getting letters saying, I'm getting older and I'm infirmed and I've got nobody to help me. How can you just leave and go to America?
The Church of Walmo on a Sunday morning. This Lutheran church was founded by the Ukermark settlers right after having arrived in America. Their strong religious belief was a great support in the New World.
When I'm dressed like this, that anybody could come in and see and know, there's the preacher. Oh Lord, look at me. Look at me. I fast, not once a week, but twice a week, 2 times. Look at me. I give a tithe on everything I get, not on the net, but on the gross.
A few decades ago, church service was given in German. A little bit of Low German is still spoken here.
Ik kan een klein beetje, niet zo veel, but ik kan een klein beetje Duits reden. No. Ik heb er maar rijdt met mijn vader en mijn onkel.
I don't know, some of the things I can't say in church. Pass me up, do Christian, stuff like that.
What a beautiful morning we have. Es sunshine da. Und Sonne ist out.
Richard Williams' ancestors even designed their own church window.
Christine Williams, her maiden name was Walt, and she married my great-grandfather, Gustav Hermann.
The little town of Brüssel in the Ukermark. Another Sunday morning and another service at a Protestant church. O Lord, you care for us like a good mother, like a good father. Bless this wine to the souls of all those who drink of it, that they may do in remembrance of the blood of thy Son, which was shed for them. The meaning of the Lord's Supper was the issue that led to conflicts among Protestants. in the early 1800s, there were two sides, so-called Old Lutherans on the one hand and Reformed believers on the other hand. They had different approaches to the meaning of the Lord's Supper. For instance, they raised questions like, is the body and blood of Jesus really physically present during church service? Or do blood and wine only have a symbolic meaning?
Amen. Die Reformierten sozusagen, die sehen das Abendmahl als Symbol, als Erinnerung.
Reformed Protestants said that the Lord's Supper is a symbol. Old Lutherans believed that Jesus is really present. For them, celebrating Lord's Supper was not only a symbol or a commemoration. This may sound like little differences, but back then, in the 1900s, this was a heavily debated issue.
Ein großer Streitpunkt, kann man sagen.
Finally, the conflict escalated. This led to the suppression of Old Lutherans. They were forbidden from celebrating church services. Pastors were imprisoned. Life in the Ukermark wasn't quiet and peaceful anymore. Starting in 1843, about 500 families left Bergholz, Valmo and the surrounding villages. Today, some people in the Ukermark try to keep history alive. Günther Trester, who lives in Brüssel, found an advertisement in an old newspaper.
Eingetretene Umstände verlassen mich.
Due to the circumstances, I have to sell my dwelling house at the market. 2-story high, 3 heated rooms and a kitchen. Any buyer may send a letter or contact me personally. Brüssel, January 26, 1843. Grobengießer Senior.
Persönlich oder brieflich bei mir zu melden und kann der Kauf sofort beschlossen werden. Brüssel, den 26. Januar 1843. Grobengießer Senior, Stellmachermeister.
In Brüssel, the Museum of Local History is currently working on an exhibition that deals with immigration to America. It is their way of celebrating Luther Year, 500 years of Reformation.
Das war eine Stellemacher mit einem Monitor,
During the communist era, people in the Ukermark did not talk in public about the numerous waves of old Lutherans who left. However, a few years ago, people in Brüssel and distantly related Americans established first contacts.
Mir ist selber passiert 2004, bei mir zu Hause hier in Brüssel, klingelt es an der Tür.
In 2004, somebody rang the doorbell here at my home in Brüssel. An older lady and a younger woman were standing in front of me. The older one said, "My name is Marilyn N. Trester. We are related." I was so astonished. Then her daughter Wendy Trester told me, "Oh, Günther, we are cousins."
Oh, Günther, wir sind Cousins.
And she gave me a hug and was so happy. It is such a great feeling to be appreciated by people from so far away.
Dort wahrgenommen zu werden.
Even on the other side of the world, people do know about Brüssel. That's great. Yes, it is. At the museum, they collect all the items that tell the story of the emigration to America. The people in Brüssel get help from the descendants of the old Lutherans in the US. They send the newsletter Der Brief to the Ukermark too. Do the people of Brüssel ever feel a longing for the far away as well? No, I was born here. Emigration is not an option for me.
Auszuwandern, wir bleiben hier.
Ja.
Pastor Matthias Ginke is on his way to another church. He is responsible for 20 villages. Less and less people live in the Ukermark, and to many of them, religion is not that important anymore.
Also ich würde mir schon sehr wünschen, dass Religion wieder ein größeres Thema bei den Menschen spielt. Inwieweit nun die Religion Einfluss haben muss.
I do hope that someday religion will have a greater influence on people's lives again. It's important that people have a feeling for the divine. Maybe that is something they will rediscover. That's what I really hope for.
Ich hoffe sehr, dass das wieder neu entdeckt wird.
For the settlers that came to America, religion still played a main role in their lives, even though the quarrel went on. As a result of these conflicts, many different religious congregations were established. Some believed in miracles, others did not. The descendants today still tell the story of a pastor from the Ukermark who urged his supporters to walk on the water of Niagara River. Among the settlers, many believed that the reason for this behavior was that the pastor went insane on his long and difficult journey to America. A visit at the home of the franca family. Their ancestors left the Ukermark 170 years ago. Today, Ruth and Earl Franca are proud Americans.
I'm very conservative. I'm a very conservative people. My father and mother were very conservative. I mean, they've been told so often that, you know, the United States did this wrong, we did that wrong, we did this wrong. I mean, if you look at our history, we spend all of our time helping other people. I mean, we really, really help other people. Our country's only been attacked once, and it was with those planes at the World Trade Center. But I mean, all those wars we've been in, all those battles we fought were for other countries.
Their German origin still means a lot to them, and this is passed on to the next generation.
They're diligent, hardworking, religious, good qualities that you want to emulate and you want your children to live by. So they, they brought those values with them when they came over, and we've tried to preserve that as much as possible.
They support taking stricter actions against illegal immigrants that come to the U.S. nowadays. The Frankas voted for Donald Trump.
There's a way they can come here. They can get papers to come here and work for 6 months at a time or a year at a time. There's ways they can legally do that, but they don't want to follow the rules.
They want to sneak across
They want to sneak across the border and stay here. And when they do that, they get all of our welfare. They get food stamps, they get schools, they get hospitalization, they get all these things. They don't want to stay for 6 months. They've been here for 20 years. We just came back from Maryland. Our son lives in Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C. And we go down there twice a year. We go to a Mexican restaurant. The people can't speak English. They treat us good. We like going there. They're nice, nice people. I don't think they're supposed to be here, but they're nice, nice people. It's not that they're bad people.
Christian Schultz is a German scientist who just immigrated to Canada. With his family, he lives only a 1-hour drive away from Berkholz in the US. I always was aware that many Germans migrated to America. Now I hear all these stories. The other day we made a trip to California, and half of the people we met greeted us with some German words and told us that their grandfather was a German. I think that many Germans don't realize how many German life there is abroad. In the United States, this is a part of everyday life. Everybody here isn't just an American, but a mixture of different nationalities and cultures. Christian is visiting Niagara Falls on a tour underneath and behind the falls. Here you can feel the real power of nature. It's around 40 degrees. On such a cold days, only some visitors feel like coming close to the falls.
Also ich glaube, hier wird man immer nass, auch bei Sonnenschein.
I think you get wet here every day, even when the sun is shining. Over the past few days it was rainy, so there's more water coming down the falls now. But it's definitely too cold to get a shower.
für eine Dusche.
Christian grew up in the Ukermark. Regional history is his passion. He's especially interested in researching the lives of the settlers that came to America. Christian is on his way to Berkholz to see how the American Ukermark looks like. He knows a lot about the old Lutheran settlers, and he does not believe that for them their religion was the only reason to leave their home country.
Ich glaube auch, dass die soziale Lage ganz entscheidend.
I think it was a social question as well. Back then, many of the people who left did not own much. It was a chance to start all over again, to buy land, to earn a living as craftsman or farmer. Maybe their German villages did not offer that many opportunities to build up a better life.
Zu leben, was vielleicht in Deutschland gar nicht möglich gewesen wäre.
Back in Berkholz, Donald Schröder currently lives with his parents. Both of them have German ancestors.
I live here with my mom and dad. I do still have my own home in Buffalo, but I spend most of the time here or at my day job. And Dad's now 92 and Mom's almost 97. So I stay here. 87. And I help them out with the laundry and cooking and cleaning and whatever.
They have to peel the apples that Donald bought at the market. Everyone knows what to do.
He usually peels the apples and I sit there and cut them up if we're here alone. Looks like Donald's going to cut them up now. But that's why he peels, because he's a better peeler than I am.
I did restaurant work for a long time. And the last boss I had, he said to me, he said, "Who taught you to peel potatoes so thin?" And I said, "My father, because if we peeled them thick, we got yelled at."
When Bob and Leona became a couple, some people were outraged. Bob's parents belonged to the Ukermark settlers and their church community.
The people in this community were very closed. The people from the Ukermark, his Dad's parents weren't too happy. She wasn't the girl he picked out for him. And so at first they weren't too happy with her. Mom and Dad met at the roller rink right across the street.
My dad said, "She's a good German girl, and she goes to one of our churches in North Tonawanda." And he says, "Why don't you go with her?"
See, at the time I didn't know my mother and dad were married in the German church. And then because of the way we were and everything, my mother thought we weren't good enough for some of the other churches.
No, the other one was tall and skinny, and she was shorter, and I just liked the looks of her better and the attitude.
I think it was love at first sight.
His brother told me that he said the first night when he met me that that's the girl I'm going to marry. So, I don't know.
Good brother.
Too many over there.
In Berkholz, they established a museum of local history too. It is called Das Haus und der Stall. They collect all the items that the first Ukermark settlers brought to America.
Hi, Christian.
Hello.
Cindy. John Schultz.
How are you?
Until today, Christian Schultz only did his research in the German Ukermark. Now he is visiting Berkholz for the first time to find out more about the German migration to America.
You, so finally. Glad you could come down. That's great. A lousy day, but oh well. Yeah.
Christian is given a tour through the museum. It presents photos, documents, and everyday objects that belong to the settlers.
Maybe you can come back with your family and really look at other things closely. We have a case here that has...
For the American descendants, these are precious objects that preserve the past. Christian knows some of the typical furniture from his grandmother's house in the Ukermark.
This light didn't go on. This is a called schrank, or Spind, I guess in Plattdeutsch, made by a local carpenter. Here's our fancy decorated Sunday shoe.
It's not so heavy.
Very light. It is a rat trap. And what you do is you pull this up, you put the cheese or bread and he runs in and he hits that little thing in there and goes, and then you take him out in the field and let him go. I guess we would call it a passport, maybe?
Christian helps to translate this special document written 170 years ago.
Take it off for that. You want to read it?
I'm not sure how tall the boat was. Also hier wird die...
This passport describes a man and a woman, Lutheran faith. Man had a forehead without bangs, woman with a large forehead. Both had blonde eyebrows.
Frau war hoch, die Augenbrauen beider waren blond. Really detailed.
Yes, yes.
Today, a group from a retirement home in Buffalo is visiting the museum. Almost all of them have German ancestry.
Hi, welcome to Doc's
Wie geht's?
Exactly.
Oh, what do you mean? You're supposed to say sehr gut.
Sehr
No,
gut.
we're supposed to say, wir haben ein bisschen Regen heute.
Okay, well, you know all the words. Good for you.
An old cabin called Einhaus is part of the museum complex too.
We're calling it an Einhaus because they used it for both people and animals all in one. And we figure this was built around 1844, which was the second year they were here.
And there's one or two in St. Johnsburg. Yeah.
Inside the old cabin, visitors can see farming implements used by the first settlers.
Can you imagine doing that? Your back would really ache. In fact, out of my family, I have a double one of these. And this, of course, is a milking stool with 3 legs. So if your barn floor wasn't even, you would just move it around so that you had a relatively stable. I haven't milked a cow since I was probably about that tall.
This bus for a foreign land is
In the museum, some visitors try to translate the Ukermark song.
green.
Goma, that's tree, isn't it?
That's right, you're right, tree. And this green, I would think that means green.
But they are not quite sure what the term Ukermark really means.
Ukermark. In the Ukermark. And
That's
see, it
the
doesn't.
area. That's the area where your grandfather is from.
Oh, really? Is that what that means?
That's an area.
Oh, I didn't know.
There's a lot of German culture in this area, but right in the middle there's an Indian reservation managed by the Tuscarora Tribe.
The Tuscaroras are actually the 6th nation of the Iroquois Confederacy. See if I could come up with the Mohawks and the Senecas and the Oneidas and the Onondagas and the Cayugas were the 5 nations of the Iroquois Confederacy that really lived in much of this whole New York and Canada area, Ontario.
Martha Hasley often stops by at the gas station in the reservation. Gas is much cheaper here because it is sold tax-free.
I just work here. I don't work here, but it's good. I like it.
Well, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, have a nice evening. Sure, thank you. You too.
Cigarettes are sold much cheaper as well. That's the way Bo Jacob makes a living.
Well, I guess they just want to see if we can talk. You're not going to get these any cheaper anyplace else. No, 23. My way or the highway? The German people came here to, over here it's called Burkholz. And Burkholz, we used to call them guacua because they had the wooden shoe, and then when they walked down the road, they would go like quack, 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 quack. So we called them guacuas. It's right here.
Bo lives in a trailer without electricity or running water. His car is his most valuable possession.
The BMW, it's my fastest pony I ever owned. I had a lot of American cars, but this will put them all to shame, this one here. The M5, it's a 2000, but it was affordable for me. It's, 17 years old?
What happened back then when the Europeans settled here? In Bo's family, some stories were passed on from generation to generation.
A lot of the things that I do know, they're only been told to me. They're not documented. I didn't go to school or, get a degree to tell you these things, but Grandma told me them. So she would say the white men stole our land, and she'd say, where did they take it? Because you're standing on it, So what they did lots of times, they would get the Indians drunk, and then they would have them sign a piece of paper. The Indians didn't even know how to read or write, and then they'd sign this thing, and they would all be witnesses, and that made it legal because they witnessed under their people. And if you look back, the Indians didn't even know how to read or write, So, how did that happen? Senoritas. Are you German?
Irish.
Irish?
And a lot of other things, probably.
Okay. So what do you want, the blue ones?
Yeah.
These ones here?
Yes, sir.
How many packs?
Just 2.
Okay. So we're even. Make sure that's real.
You have a good day.
Yep, you too. We have to live the lie, and the lie is that we own it. And we don't own this land any more than you own the air that you breathe or the water that you drink. It was given to us to share with, and for us to help each other like brothers and sisters, like we should,
Martha Hasley is spending some time with her Platt-speaking friends. They want to cook traditional German food.
Doesn't that go?
You meant hard scent?
Oh, okay.
Dat wat der var sker.
Den køb mig, den er så.
Jo, ik denk
Hun hvor fedt det er.
Tomorrow there will be a large dinner party with dozens of Ukermark descendants. More than 100 people bought tickets. One of the dishes will be wedding cabbage, based on an old recipe.
This
is hard. I hope my daughters learn how to cook this because they like it. And it doesn't cost much, but you have to know how to do it too. So.
And your grandchildren maybe will learn to eat it, you think?
I don't know about that. If it doesn't come out of a can or a freezer bag, then they don't like it.
They like the old-fashioned recipes a lot, even though they need a lot of time.
Anna, wenn wir Ries kochen, Ries, wir machen Ries mit Milch und Zucker. Und das müsst ihr stehen und rühren. Für eine Stunde. Und die Jungen, DMKT, und sie tun es nicht. Aber wenn du es morgen da ist, das schmeckt so gut.
Schmeckt besser.
Ja, schmeckt so gut. Und ich mag das immer. It's just, put this in, put that in. And that's,
Min ma had immer gesagt, kom og rør mig dit en bed.
Ja.
Stående og rør, det var helt så godt smæk.
The sweet sour wedding cabbage still has to simmer for some time. The Bergholz Fire Department. This is where the Bergholz Blaskapelle has its last rehearsal before playing at the dinner. The band was founded in the 1800s by settlers from the Ukermark. Nowadays, they don't play low German folk songs anymore. They specialized in Bavarian-style music.
The music up in northern Germany is quite a bit different from what the party people want here. I know in northern Germany music is very proper and sophisticated, and in the Bavarian areas it's very lively with what they call in the U.S. the Oompa music.
This is one of the original groups from 1896. was in this community. And they probably played at church. Okay, that's how they brought their instruments over to play at that point. And then it was later in years that we formed military-style band, or this as a Blaskapelle.
Very serious.
Very serious, very stern.
Very businesslike.
The Schröder family is on the way to the dinner. Usually, 87-year-old Leona drives the car.
There was a spring dinner too, which I didn't go to because I was in an ugly mood and there was too much going on and I didn't feel good. So, forgot my seatbelt. The lady that lives in this house just passed away not long ago, about 3 months ago. She was only in her 50s. She had cancer.
The Schröders arrive early at the dinner. Even Ronald, who is Donald's brother from New York City, wants to attend.
I'm not too much in eating anymore, but I hope the pork chops are good. It's just pretty. Everything looks so nice. Oh, we got to buy tickets for the basket.
Yeah.
Basket raffle. Where is it?
I bought the vest in Breslau, and then they sent the hat over from the people in Brussels went to Breslau and bought the hat for me and sent the hat over because they wanted me to have the hat too.
The Bergholz Blaskapelle is even wearing Bavarian customs. With every ticket sold, money is donated to the Historical Society, who is running the museum. The dinner is a way to keep Ukermark traditions alive. It is almost like a big family reunion. More than 100 people showed up. Most of them have origins in the Ukermark. Many of them are even related to each other.
His mother and my mother were sisters. His mother was the youngest of the group.
Don Schroeder comes in both ways with his family, with my wife and us.
I think we're all cousins at this table.
This is my cousin right here.
This is a lady, she was a Williams, it was related to my aunt.
Her grandmother was my aunt. How's that?
When I went to school, everybody was either a first or second cousin. And there were like maybe 60 of us.
The annual dinner is the most important source of income for the Historical Society. So it is really important that many people show up. This year marked a new record, but only a few younger people attended. Nevertheless, the society members are satisfied with what they achieved.
I think it was very successful tonight. We had a lot of people show up and everybody enjoyed the music. See that?
I think it was very good. Good gathering, some people that we haven't seen here before. So it's maybe some new blood. You know, we raise a little bit extra money doing that.
I didn't say it.
That'll help us pay the electric bill and keep the place going for another year, you know?
I try and get my children to come too, but you know, that's very difficult. They think I'm old-fashioned.
Yeah, the younger people don't get involved in things anymore, like either something like this or church or anything. They just don't seem to get involved. They just hang out in their own bite. There goes a dish.